Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry that I can't be there right now, but I want to go over your homework with you to make sure that you understand it well, because this stuff was pretty simple, and I think you guys had a pretty good grasp on it. So if you haven't already, please go ahead and get out your homework so we can take a look at it. All right, on number one here, this is your real basic example of here is an exterior angle, and here are the two remote interior angles. So we know that the measure of x has got to be equal to the sum of those two, 65 plus 60, which gives us 125. Okay, again, number two, it's the exact same point. Number three, it's the exact same point. Here's the exterior angle. These are the two remote interior angles. So you know that y has got to equal 30 plus 39. So therefore, y is 69. Also, on number three, we know that n is equal to 75 plus 68. And so therefore, we just add 75 and 68, and I believe we get 143. Okay, so those are your real basic examples of exterior angles, and it keeps going. 4, 5, and 6, they keep with the same theme. For M on number 4, you go, okay, that's the exterior angle, so it must be equal to the sum of the two remote interior angles. 93 and 36 give me 129. On number 5, I get that x must be equal to 61 plus 79, so therefore 61 plus 79 is 140. And on number 6, P must be equal to 46, not 45, 46 plus what? And what we notice is in that illustration, there's this symbol right there, and that means right angle, or 90 degrees. And so therefore, it's 46 plus 90 degrees, which gives me 136 degrees. Okay? Now it gets a little bit more interesting. Now, these were similar to the problems that we finished with the last time we were together, where there's angles all sorts of places, and you can still use the basic rules that you know. Like in this first illustration right here, we know that x and y are supplementary. They're two angles that back up to each other to create a straight line, so they must be supplementary angles. But we also know that 55, 90, and x must add up to be 180. And so we can use that to kind of get started on this one. So we know that x plus 55 plus 90 all must add up to equal 180. So if we subtract the 55 and the 90, all we're left with is 35 degrees. Okay? And so x must be 35. Well, we know that y right next to it must be supplementary to 35. So therefore, y must be equal to 180 minus minus 35. And so that leaves us with 145. So y must be 145. And then to figure out z, you go, well, now there's another triangle, and that triangle has z and 10 and y, 145. And those all together must add up to be 180. So 10 plus 145 is 155. So z plus 155 must add up to be 180. We subtract the 155 and we get 25 degrees. Z must be 25 degrees. Okay? And it all keeps coming down to that those two principles, that two angles that back up to each other and create a straight line must add up to be 180, and that the three angles inside any triangle must add up to be 180. Okay, next. On number 8, we have A, B, and C. Okay, now I'm going to start with B. Now that might be kind of weird, but as I look at this, if I ignore this, B is an exterior angle of this triangle right here. So therefore, B, it must be the sum of those two remote interior angles. So I know that B must be equal to 53 degrees plus 44 degrees. So therefore, B must be equal to 97 degrees. That's pretty simple. I know that C has got to be supplementary to it. So C plus 97 must add up to be 180. So if I subtract 97 from 180, I'll get what C is, and that's going to be 83 degrees. And then I look and go, okay, well, what about A? Okay, now A, I can see that A, B, and 28 all add up to be 180. So A, which I don't know, plus B, which is 97, plus 28, all must add up to be 180. So 97 and 28, I think, is 125. So I have A plus 125 is equal to 180. So therefore, A is equal to 55 degrees. Awesome. And now moving on to the last one of this set. Okay. This one's very similar to number 8. The whole thing's just flipped upside down. And so we look and we go, again, I'm going to start with V because V is this exterior angle for these two remote interior angles. So I know that V is equal to 56 plus, not equal 62, plus 62 degrees. So therefore, V is equal to 118 degrees. All right? I know that T must be supplementary to it. So I know that T plus 118 must add up to be 180. If I subtract the 118, I'm left with 62 degrees. And then I know that W plus V plus 25 all must add up to be 180. W plus V plus 25 are all inside a triangle. They must add up to be 180. So I know that V is 118. So that means W plus 118 and 25 is 143. Must add up to be 180. Subtract the 143 and W's got to be 37. So there's my answers for those three. Okay. On number 7, X is 35. And Y is 145 and Z is 25. On number 8, B is 97, C is 83, and A is 55. And on number 9, V is 118, T is 62, and W is 37. All right, now we're going to do some more. And these, again, they're just starting to kind of introduce a couple more lines here and there to try to make this a little bit more challenging. But it's the same stuff. Here we have an exterior angle and 2 remote interior angles. And it says find the measure of each numbered angle. So we're looking for this one right here. Well, we know that 140 must equal to the measure of angle 1 plus that 90 degrees. We know that this exterior angle is equal to the sum of the 2 remote interior angles. So we subtract 90 from both sides and we get the measure of angle 1 must be 50 degrees. Next, this one is an exterior angle, and these would be the 2 remote interior angles. So again, I would know that 120 is equal to the sum of 32 plus the measure of angle 2. So if I subtract 32 from both sides, I get the measure of angle 2 must be 88 degrees. All right, this next one is definitely a little bit more complicated. We can see that because there's just a lot more going on. There's a lot more numbers in this one. But it actually ends up being really simple. Okay, we can see that angle 3 and angle 4 are vertical angles. So we know they're going to be the same. Okay, we know that 72 plus 86 plus the measure of angle 3 must add up to be 180. 72 and 86 is 158 plus the measure of angle 3 adds up to be 180. If I subtract the 158, I get 22 degrees. Measure angle 3 has got to be 22 degrees, which means that the measure angle 4 has got to be 22 degrees because they're vertical angles. And then for that last triangle, I know that the measure angle 4, which is 22, plus that 70 that it shows, plus the measure of angle 5, all must add up to be 180. 22 and 70 is 92, plus the measure of angle 5 adds up to be 180. Subtract the 92, and you're left with that the measure of angle 5 must be 88 degrees. Again, it's really simple. You just keep coming back to that one principle that the 3 angles inside any triangle must add up to be 180. All right, this last set, number 15 is probably the most challenging because it gives you some angles that you might want to think are exterior angles, but they're not. But we'll get to that one in a second. 13 and 14 are very simple. We know that 126.8 is this exterior angle, and it must be equal to the sum of the 2 remote interior angles. The measure angle 2 plus 69.7. So all we have to do is subtract 69.7 from both sides, and we'll end up with the right answer. And that is 57.1 degrees is equal to the measure of angle 2. Okay, for the next one, number 14, we know, now this time, 3 is the exterior angle. So we go, great. The measure angle 3 is equal to the sum of the 2 remote interior angles, 46 degrees and 90, which gives me 136 degrees. All right, let's see here. And then for this next one, what's tricky about this is that it makes it look like 1 might be an exterior angle, but it's not. And 2 is not an exterior angle. This is really just 2 weird triangles that have been pushed together that have nothing to do with each other. They don't have anything to do with each other. And so really, I find the measure of angle 1 by just simply saying the measure of angle 1 plus 116 plus 31 must all add up to be 180, which means the measure of angle 1 plus 147 equals 180. And if I subtract the 147, I get what? 33 degrees. And I do the same thing for the other one. I say the measure of angle 2 plus 38 plus 90 adds up to be 180. So therefore, if I add those two up, I get measure angle 2 plus 128 equals 180. And subtract the 128, and you get the measure of angle 2 has got to be 52 degrees. So those two are really just two triangles where you're looking and going the three angles inside any triangle add up to be 180, and that works, okay? All right, we are going to try to take, I'm hoping we have time to take a practice quiz and then maybe take the real deal, all right? So get yourself ready.